Hi, my name is Jonathan Fisher, and this is Haleigh Fisher, and today we wanted to come and talk to you guys about knowing your spouse. So, what does it mean to know your spouse? What does it look like? What does it not look like? It doesn't just look like knowing facts about your spouse. I can know everything about Haleigh in terms of where she went to college, what the name of her first pet was, anything like that, but that doesn't really mean you really know each other.
So when it comes to knowing each other, it's more about that emotional connection and understanding what each other is experiencing and feeling. And so it's really seeking to understand when you don't know. Sometimes people just know, right? Like you can automatically tell like something shifts in your spouse and you know that they're sad. And other times it's not that obvious. And so knowing that when it's not, having that level of communication to really seek to understand what's going on and where it's coming from, so that you can better understand their heart and what's going on in their hearts and their minds in a situation.
An example of this is whenever I don't take out the trash on Thursdays. My experience of that is, well, I might have just forgotten. So I'm not really in tune with what my wife is really experiencing or feeling in the moment. And am I really seeking to understand that? So if I really was seeking to understand what my wife was experiencing, I would ask questions. I would really get into understanding what was happening there for her whenever I didn't do that. Again, you can ask, you can obviously, I would do research, but conversation is great. So for Haleigh, this might look like I'm not taking the responsibility to lead my family well. And that's the deep issue that goes into me not taking out the trash on Thursdays. But that's what's helpful in understanding and what I really know about my wife and really getting into the experience, really experiencing those things.
And then another part of knowing each other would be understanding where the other person derives their value from. So from a Christian perspective, that we derive our value from what God has said about us and us being image bearers of God. And so that idea of where my worth and my value comes from as an image bearer of God then flows into everything I do. It helps to give and to understand the motivation why I choose to do the things I choose to do and why I choose not to do the things that I choose not to, as well as it also helps for a spouse to, knowing that we're made in the image of God, to understand how this person looks like God, what parts and characteristics of God they model to you and to the world.
One of the things that's very helpful there is understanding your spouse's spiritual gifts. Their spiritual gifts will really give you a hint in really getting to know, not just about them, but really know about how they feel whenever there's a situation coming up or how they're experiencing a certain situation. That's one of the things that's most helpful in a marriage. What are y'all's spiritual gifts and how are you guys interacting with them with each other? The other thing to mention here is that for human beings, typically being known by each other is one of our biggest double standards. We really, really want to be known by people like our parents, our children, God, but at the same time, we're terrified of being really known. Those are all of our dark secrets, our dark thoughts that we might have. Again, all the stuff that comes from our sin nature. And so really, we don't want to be known, but at the same time, that's the core of what we really desire, to be known and accepted. So one of the things that comes up a lot in a lot of the counseling sessions that I have is I'm too afraid to share with my spouse because I'm afraid that they're going to judge me. But then what ends up happening is they don't really know me because I haven't shared. And so whenever somebody says, hey, I love you or I really care, I have people that say, well, they don't really love me because if they knew all of me, then they really wouldn't love me. So you have this dichotomy of, okay, if you really want to be loved, if you really want to be cared for, and that be meaningful to you when somebody says it, share everything about yourself. Oh, but if I share everything, then I'm going to be judged, and then they won't love me. So basically, it's a trap. It's a spiral that keeps spiraling downwards. That is where we have our great high priest, Jesus, that does love us despite all the dirtiness. And again, I think as Christians, it's a very important thing to remember how he does it so that we can do the same for our spouse. So my spouse, I know a lot of the things about my spouse that might not be as pretty as she would like them to be. But whenever I proposed to her, I gave her a ring, and our engagement ring has a black diamond and a white diamond. And that's because I was committing to all the pure stuff and the great stuff of her, as well as all of the dark stuff of her. And so with that engagement ring, there's 2 diamonds there, and I thought that was really symbolic, and I wanted to have that be a part of our story and our legacy, that I'm not just committing to the good parts of my wife, I'm committing to the dark parts as well. And that's a really important idea whenever it comes to knowing each other, that there's going to be good and there's going to be dark parts, and that's okay. Jesus also knows that about you, and so that's going to be okay. Thank you guys so much for joining us again with another episode. If you guys like this, then please subscribe and click the little button on the screen, and we'll catch you guys next time with another episode. Thanks so much.